is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Bears After Dark, the Shy Kid podcast. I am Mike Hughes, aka the Shy Kid, representing the Give Us a Shot Network. We are in there after dark. We don't have a formal introduction to today's episode because I'm just sitting with one of our fan favorites, the man, the myth, the Windy City legend himself, Kevin LAPKA. Kev, baby, how we feeling, baby?
Hey, we're feeling good, man. When I got that text, you said you want to come on. I was like, let's freaking go. I haven't talked Bears in a minute. We've been taking a little bit of break from Bears Nation podcast, but we back here. We back. We got Hard Knocks. We got training camp preseason. Let's get it after it, baby.
So Kev, look, bro. We grew up same age, same era. You remember 2016. You remember the high school days, man. Breaking the internet. Breaking the internet was hard to do. The Kardashians were great at it. Remember that black and blue dress? It was silver and gold, or it was black and blue, whatever that dress was. Great at that. But now number 3, the Chicago Bears broke Hard Knocks, broke HBO, had to make it go, 30 minutes to an hour it took to get back on the stream.
Yeah.
As it was originally supposed to be airing at 8 p.m. Kev, baby, the Bears broke the internet. How do you feel? I mean, what does that speak about the volume? And maybe I'm overreacting here, but hey, we'll let it run. We'll let it run for the second.
You're not overreacting. This was the number 1 trending thing on X last night. Number 1 trending in the world, or maybe the United States, was Hard Knocks. Hashtag Hard Knocks, right? So you're not wrong. They literally did, quote unquote, break the internet. Now, here's the thing. Our good friend Mark Minogue, who happens to be my roommate, he told me this, and I don't know where he get this information. It's probably false and fake. But what he had said was they delayed the episode because the Bears were in pursuit for an edge rusher at the time. And now we get the news literally about 3-4 hours ago. Matthew Judon, edge rusher for the Patriots, gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a 3rd-round pick. And we also got the news that the Bears were one of 2 teams, including the Falcons, to inquire on Judon. So that would check out. I'm not necessarily going to believe that. I don't know if that's true for sure, but that is what I've heard, and that might have caused the delay. But crazy times, man. The episode was great. We're feeling good. The vibes have never been this good for a Chicago Bears team. It's
100%.
incredible.
100%. And the Markology is hey, I'm with it. Mark always makes things a little spicy. That's QB1 or wide receiver 3. I don't know. Oof. QB1 on an undefeated championship team. Mark, don't let him shoot you down. But listen, bro, in all seriousness, we get into that conversation a little bit later about Austin Booker and that second pass rusher that you and I have been waiting for. What it feels like since the end of last season. Was it going to be Yannick? Was it going to be this? Was it going to be that? But I want to get into what we saw in preseason first and foremost. So first, like we said, shout out Hard Knocks. We're not going to spend too much time on that today. Obviously, we're going to be having certain conversations where we are kind of getting into that based off of what we've seen throughout episode 1 and 2. But we're also not meat riding it because HBO ain't paying us for this. So with that being said, game number 1, Buffalo Bills. You got a chance to watch episode 2 of Hard Knocks, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So you get kind of what we saw on film, what we saw during live action versus, okay, now we get to see how everybody else on the field feels. Now we get to see the preparation into this, the magnitude, maybe some things we didn't notice. Like I didn't realize how bad Velus Jones was in that game until I watched Hard Knocks episode 2. I was like, damn, bro, did you really miss that many holes? Pause. But like, it's really just one of those things where, we got to see a different lens, a different perspective from it. So first of all, obviously, dog walking the Buffalo Bills secondary. I don't care if it's the first string or second stringers. We looked great. So how did you feel about Saturday's game? How did you feel about Caleb's performance overall and what we saw in game 1?
Yeah, I mean, let's start there. There's not a lot to take away from the score, the box score. The wins, losses in the preseason don't matter. We know that. And it's funny, Matt Eberflus, he may not have a great regular season record, but he's now 6-2 in the preseason. He's got something figured out when it comes to these preseason games. So if you're a betting man, bet on the Bears in the preseason. You probably make yourself a little bit of money. But let's start with Caleb Williams. Let's start there. Obviously, the big ticket item here and the number 1 thing. And look, the reaction out of this game after 3 series was greater than I even expected. He made good plays. He looked natural. Pocket presence was great. He had an incredible throw on the run down the sideline to Cole Kmet. Even that 3rd down throw, that strike to DJ Moore is really impressive, right? But I did not expect the type of reaction that we saw on the internet after this game. I mean, you're talking about national media who were like, wow, this dude looks phenomenal. Wow, maybe the Bears can be 11, 12 win team this year. Maybe they can contend with the Lions in the division. I have my own thoughts about that we can get into later. But, I mean, I think it's warranted to an extent, but I just did not expect that type of reaction to only 3 drives that Caleb Williams got to play. But the reason why you're seeing that, Mike, is because, and for me, like the Instagram and the Twitter and all of that stuff, right? When it comes to the throw to Cole Kmet, when it comes to the little no-look flip pass to DeAndre Swift, we know that those are the things that get people talking. In this era of media that you are very much a part of, almost at 100K on TikTok, right? You thrive on those things. You thrive on those things. Right? We know those things drive traction. And I think a lot of the quote-unquote casual fans of the NFL and the non-Bears fans, they saw that, and they're like, wow, I see Mahomes in that. But this is where I saw Mahomes more than anything, Mike, was like, when you are looking in these moments in a player's first game in the NFL, his debut in the preseason, right? And us knowing that, look, we had a quarterback in Justin Fields who was at least capable of making spectacular plays like that, right? We've seen some of those on-the-run, sidearm, amazing throws from him. Obviously not at that same clip, not that same level. We know Caleb Williams has more arm talent than Justin Fields, but we saw those spectacular plays. But the things that you're looking at is pocket presence, right? How comfortable does he look, right? When you are in a offense and you're in an offensive line that has not been, consistent and cohesive this offseason, right? You're looking at all those different things. And what I saw specifically in the third down play in those 3 series was a player and a quarterback who was comfortable in the pocket, who went through his reads, who looked off a safety a couple of times and looked like a seasoned veteran in what was just 3 drives. And of course, we don't want to overreact, but Mike, those were the takeaways for me more than anything.
No, for sure. And I love the fact that you saved me a little nugget that we get to talk about, that sidearm throw going to DeAndre Swift. First of all, I want to give love to DeAndre Swift because we've kind of been going through this carousel of running backs that can't catch the ball ever since the Tariq Cohen era. So like to be able to keep up with that play and expect a pass like that kind of shows the confidence that not only DeAndre Swift has in a guy like Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams has that confidence in Swift. So like, it's really great to see both of them really flourishing. Obviously that side throw to Cole Kmet, it was phenomenal. I didn't even think he was in bounds. And the biggest part I loved, we talked about Hard Knocks a little bit earlier and what we were going to be talking about and how that was going to translate to from what we saw on Saturday to what we saw Tuesday night. Josh Allen telling him, hey man, in season, like, yeah, take those hits, no problem, but just get out of bounds. Get out of bounds in the preseason. You don't got to take those hits. But I like that Caleb was willing to take that hit. I like that he was trying to keep the play alive, keep the drive going, and really just put his players and his teammates in the best position possible to have success. So to see those kind of small interactions with Josh Allen was really cool to me, and I thought it was incredible. I don't think that Hard Knocks had to black out the whole entire like setting and the environment when Josh Allen walked out of the tunnel. I thought that was a little aggressive. I mean, this isn't Patrick Mahomes. I was like, all right, we're acting like this is like the best quarterback in the NFL. It was a little aggressive, but no, in all seriousness, man, I thought it was great. I thought it was cool. Definitely an incredible game. Obviously, I just got the Facebook memory that Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus beat Matt Nagy in preseason week 1 just 2 years ago on this day. So that was pretty cool. I was like, man, bro, I remember how lit we were about that. The new era. We were like, yeah, bro, like Fields, he fucked over Fields and now we're here. Like, let's go. But this era feels different. This era feels different. The era of Caleb Williams. I feels like the city has his back, which is pretty crazy because, you and I made jokes about it, all off season long, not all off season, but like from the end of the season to mid-March, we were kind of saying like it's a civil war in Chicago. You have half the city, that's like Team Cap, Team Iron Man, like we're Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams. And now it's like the second it happened, everyone was kind of like, okay, like this is the guy we got. And I feel like before we transition to the other rookies and what we're going to talk about, do you feel like more people are hyped about Caleb Williams than they were about Justin Fields the first go around?
Yeah, I mean, that has to be the case, right? It just has to be. I mean, first overall pick versus 11th overall pick. Heisman winner versus non-Heisman winner. And of course, Justin Fields was in the running. He didn't win the award. But the hype that we've seen around Caleb Williams is like we've never seen before, right? Like it's just the comparisons that have been drawn, the ceiling for his career could be Hall of Fame. We didn't have those same kinds of conversations with Justin Fields. And it's all taken to that next level, Mike, when you consider the team that's around him and you consider what he has to his disposal. When Justin Fields came into the league, we had the optimism that he was going to be good, right? And I obviously led the charge on that. I watched him at Ohio State. I'll own that up. I thought that Justin Fields was going to be great with the Chicago Bears. I think he was dealt a poor hand, and I hope things can go better for him in Pittsburgh. But the bottom line is, when he came in to this team with the Chicago Bears, they were a team that was not ready to handle a rookie quarterback, wasn't ready to put Justin Fields in that position. And that was reflected in the way that they played in that first 2 years of him on the team. And then they get him some help and they say, hey, okay, here we're going to do what we can for you. And he still doesn't get it done. That's why they move on from him. But now you already have the comparisons for Caleb Williams to the Aaron Rodgers and the Patrick Mahomes and all that, right? You already have the Heisman winner. You already have the USC Cali kid, the NIL, all the money, right? All the talk, all the fame, all right? And now you plop them into a team in the third biggest market in the NFL with receivers who are arguably the best core in the NFL, with a defense that played top 5 in the last 7 games, almost led them to the playoffs, right? I wouldn't say almost led them to the playoffs, but played well enough to get them in a position where they were in the hunt, right? Mm-hmm. He is like all of that. You have to understand that we wouldn't be in the same breath about Caleb Williams if he was walking in to the Jacksonville Jaguars, if he was walking in to even the Los Angeles Chargers, right? Like, and of course, that's the Bears effect. That's the Chicago effect. That happens for all the sports teams in this city, and specifically in a city where football dominates, right? But when you recognize that, okay, the team is good, how much can he elevate this team? It just gets people even more excited because we've been so starved of winning. Like, we've been starved of great quarterback play, Mike, but we've also been so starved of winning that the fact that we could have synergy with those two things at the same time, winning along with good quarterback play, Mike, along with that tradition of good defense and the nasty monsters of the midway that they have with some of the dogs that they have on defense, like, all of it is coming to all we've ever wanted as Bears fans could be coming into one, and that's what makes them us Bears fans so damn excited about him and about this season.
No, for sure. And we got some people in the comments who even were saying, y'all weren't around in the Kramer days. Y'all weren't around here and there. No, but I will tell you this. Kevin and I were around for a lot. I've known Kevin since about 2005, 2006. This man and I, every Sunday morning before we go watch Bears, we're at a CCD class. We're learning about God. Kevin and I are in the back talking about why Josh McCown is going to lead us to a Super Bowl. Like, these were real conversations that were, yo, bro, he threw 5 touchdowns against Green Bay last week. Like, this is it. This is the ride. Jay's going to get benched. Like, these were conversations we really had our entire childhood. And you know, just as well as anybody does, as a Cubs fan, I myself, we have seen times where the 2003 Cubs, I mean, amazing pitching, but, the offense just inconsistent, kind of trying to figure things out. Then we've had years where the pitching was great from 2017 on, and the offense was just what let us down. But we've seen it all come together, earth, fire, wind, whatever you want to say, all the elements just coming together. And that's exactly how this feels. And when you mention one of the best cores, I say it is the best core. Now, I think Nick Wright said it perfectly the other day, where he said, yeah, they don't have the best 1 and they don't have the best 2, but they have the best 1, 2, 3. And I think that's really how you have to look at it from that perspective. Outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., I think in any other draft class, Rome Odunze is the first wide receiver off the board, period. And that's truly because I believe the Giants fucked up and took Neighbors. That's just my personal opinion. I think Rome is the more complete wide receiver. I think he has that alpha, he has that dog in him mentally. I think he's willing to be in a room and be a leader in a room. And when you have a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Famer in Keenan Allen, and someone like DJ Moore, who is on the trajectory of a Hall of Fame career, I mean, the sky is the limit, no pun intended, because Skytown, we're back tomorrow, baby. But in all seriousness, man, I loved what we saw. I want to talk about number 2, though, because we talked about Judon. We talked about Yannick a little bit in the offseason. Yannick's obviously still a free agent. Don't really know what's going on with that. I've heard he's had some meetings with some teams, but nothing really comes into it. I want to talk about the Rook, 5th-round pick, Kansas City State. Talk about him, baby. Or Kansas State, not Kansas.
No, just Kansas.
Just Kansas.
University of Kansas.
Arkansas. No, but, you look at Austin Booker, man. 5th-round pick, wasn't a starter for the majority of his career in college. He comes out, 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and I believe 3 hits on the quarterback in his first NFL game. What are your expectations for Austin Booker when you have him alongside Montez Sweat? Do you think I'm gonna spin it a little bit for you because of Markology, because of what Mark was saying about the Chicago Bears potentially being it on Judon? Do you think after Saturday's performance that made Ryan Poles question whether Judon was worth the 3rd-round pick, or seeing if maybe Booker is that guy?
I think to an extent, yes. And now this has been reported now by multiple sources that the Bears were heavily involved.
Yeah.
This is reported by Jeremy Fowler. I'm reading it 2 hours ago. The Bears were heavily involved in Matt Judon trade talks. The Texans also showed some interest. Ultimately, it led to the Falcons. And if I had to guess, as you're assuming, the Bears probably had a fourth or fifth floating out there. Falcons were willing to give up a 3 because you know who's on there on their front office staff, Mike? Ryan Pace. We know that dude likes to throw around picks like whatever, right? Edge rushers before the season, he'll throw around anything. So
85 mil to any white man that plays quarterback. We'll give it to him.
Yeah, he's all over it. But no, I think part of that is like, look, Ryan Poles has done a great job of accumulating value. Obviously, we know the famous trade with the Panthers that could go down, and I think will go down at this point. It's the best trade in the history of the NFL, maybe one of the best trades in the history of sports. Possibly. I think is honestly fair to say if Caleb Williams would be like a Hall of Famer. But he really values his mid-round picks. He values his late-round picks. He's going to try to recoup late-round picks in the draft, and he doesn't like to give it away for nothing. So after watching Austin Booker have 2.5 sacks, I'm sure he's asking himself, I mean, they drafted him for a reason. So they're obviously high on the guy, right? And he's saying, look, if I can get elite level production, not elite level production, but solid production out of Austin Booker, why give up a third rounder rental for Matthew Judon? I don't know what his contract status looks like, but you probably are getting him on a rental, right? It's a 1-year thing. And for the Falcons who have a chance to win the division, maybe make a run in the NFC, it makes sense for them, right? And an expiring old quarterback. But for the Bears who are ahead of schedule in their rebuild, but are still technically in that rebuild, I don't think it makes sense. And they watch Austin Booker play and they're like, okay, 2.5 sacks. I think he could be the guy, but at the same time, Mike, it can't lead to complacency because if you want to look at one hole in this roster, I believe that it is still the offensive line. There's a hole there if guys are unhealthy, if the Nate Davis stuff continues, right? But if that gets itself shored up, we all know the one hole in this roster. And even if Austin Booker plays well, there's still one hole in this roster, and it's a viable edge rusher opposite, or even a viable backup edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat. We don't know what Dominique Robinson's going to look like. He played a little bit on the interior on Saturday. I don't know if he's going to move there or what they're going to do on the defensive line with Eric Washington, new defensive coordinator, leading the charge. But I'll tell you this, Mike, even if Austin Booker continues to play well, the Chicago Bears will acquire an edge rusher before the season starts. Whether it's via trade or free agency, there's limited free agent options, and there's a couple guys who could be on the trade block. They 100%, I believe, will address that this year. They did the same exact thing last year, and I predicted on Bears Nation podcast, and they signed Yannick Ngakoue about 3 weeks before the season. I think a similar thing could happen. Maybe it is for the same player. Yannick Ngakoue is still available in this free agency market. But to answer your question, I do think the play of Austin Booker maybe had a little bit of effect of how desperate they view that position, right? But nonetheless, I think they're going to make a move there, and I think they have to make a move there, Mike, because it's just not good enough at this period of time. And if they want to win significantly in this division and in this conference, it's going to have to get a little bit better.
No, for sure. And also, I don't want you to sell yourself short. Didn't you like predict the Yannick Ngakoue signing like the day it happened, like the night before it happened? Like, come on, Kev. We're not gonna say you just threw that out there. Like, this was Kevin LAPKA on time. Like, this man had it before Shefty did. Like, it was crazy. But no, man. Like, I'm with you, and I think the biggest reason, and I can't believe we actually get to say it as Bears fans. The big reason to why you bring in a Yannick, why you bring in another pass rusher, whether that's via trade or signing free agency, is because you can. Is because we have the money to do so. Like we can do this, so we are going to. And that's really where over the last few years we've had problems even getting to the salary cap. Like that's really where it is. Like we've been crunching numbers for years with all these different contracts that Ryan Pace was just throwing around. So like to be able to do this, to be able to be in this position right now to where you have Yannick, Austin Booker, Montez Sweat, and all these guys. I mean, let's also just be completely real. We got a couple defensive tackles looking like pass rushers out here in training camp. So Devon Dexter Sr. has looked incredible. So yeah, that's been cool as well. I think we got a lot of versatility, a lot of athleticism, but you can always add somebody else because you never know what's going to happen. But just for shits and giggles, really quick before we move on to our final preseason conversation, Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is one of those guys that we're seeing right now, not reporting the camp. Could be traded twice in one offseason, requested a trade twice officially in one offseason. The Jets say they're not moving him. But Kev, man, do you think there is any realistic possibility that Ryan Poles not only makes a trade for him, but even entertains that conversation after hearing the way Hassan's kind of handled this Jet situation. Because I think it's a red flag. It's kind of like a Roquan Smith situation, how that kind of ended for Ryan Poles. I kind of feel that way. Maybe you don't want to mess with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like not even like that. I think it's just he's just not the right fit for, again, what the Bears are doing here, right? Like you think back to situations like this or teams, or think about the specific teams that like would be willing to do this, and you're thinking of the teams that come to mind, and you're thinking, okay, let's check off these boxes, right? Quarterback who's probably older, who is nearing the end of his career, who wants to maximize the years before he's incapable of playing, right? Team who is at the end of their window, who needs to make a push to win a Super Bowl before their window closes, right? That's what fits the bill. And the Bears don't fit that bill, right? And you think about, like, this is a really tough question for me to answer. I guess I'll answer to you. Like, in hindsight now, 6 years later, how excited were you the morning that you got the notification that Khalil Mack was traded to the Bears?
It was
right?
The biggest thing.
It was the biggest thing. This was a player, an all-pro player, a defensive player of the year in his prime, coming to the Bears, coming to a team that traditionally produces unbelievable edge rushers and linebackers, and it made so much sense. It was amazing, and that year was awesome. But in hindsight, Mike, ask yourself, in hindsight, in the position that team was in, they won 0 playoff games, and it wasn't to the fault of Khalil Mack, but was that trade worth it? Like, he was here for 4 years or 5 years. He was productive for 2 of them. He was dealing with injuries the last 2, and then he was traded away for a 4th-round pick. Like, I actually want you to answer that question, then we'll move on with the conversation. Was that deal worth it for you?
100%. 100%. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why is because the situation is very different than the Bears defense of now versus then. I felt like that Bears defense was very unproven, very young. The pass rushers you had were Leonard Floyd and a couple other guys. So I think, when you really look at it from that perspective, you had to bring in somebody who has been in this league, somebody who has been in positions of success. The Raiders, where they weren't championship, contenders, they were in playoff pushes. You had Amari Cooper, you had Derek Carr in his prime of Derek Carr, whatever. But whatever. I know Houston Texans fans are hot right now, even hearing me say that. But you look at that and you go, I think we needed Khalil Mack. I look at that to this day. The problem, Kevin, in what you're saying is when I already have Montez Sweat, when I already have Jalen Johnson, when I have one of the best linebacker cores in all of football, I think you kind of. What we need right now is a 2018 version of Leonard Floyd. And if that can be Austin Booker, that's great. Could it have been Judon? It could have been Judon and then some, because Judon's obviously a 4-time Pro Bowler. But I think right now, like we said about Booker, if he can, not elite, not above average, if you can just be average, you're an average pass rusher in the NFL, you are going to look elite next to Montez Sweat. And I think that's the opposite of the 2018 Bears versus the 2024 Bears. So that's where I would be at with it. I think that Bears team definitely needed a Khalil Mack. They needed that X factor, especially when you look back on it and realize, let's be so real, Kevin. Does Eddie Jackson have the season he has in 2018 if Khalil Mack isn't bum rushing the quarterback and immediately in his face? You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, right? And it made that year incredible. 2018 was my favorite year as a Bears fan since I've been alive, because I was old enough to really when we were younger. Like 2010 was great, and
we were 6 during the Super Bowl.
We didn't really know, So 2018 was like, okay, I was an adult, I was in college, like I really got to experience this. Like it was our first memorable season, and like nonetheless, like that was just insanely fun, regardless of how old you were, right? Like that was just an insanely fun season. But again, Mike, this league and good teams, right? It's about accumulating assets and getting value out of every one of your acquisitions and every one of your moves. And they gave up, was it 3? I think it was only 2 first-round picks for Mack.
I think it was
in that trade.
I want to say it was 3.
Like, you gave up 3 first-round picks for 1 year of lightning in a bottle, right? And it's like, that's what you have to ask yourself about this, any sort of trade. And to tie it back into people who, I see some people in the comments, my phone's going to die soon, by the way, people in the comments talking about Hassan Reddick. Like, I don't believe at age 29, and given his production last year, he's still 11 sacks last year, I just don't think he's going to be worth a first round pick at this point in his career. But nonetheless, this is about value, and this is about recognizing that, hey, we can win now. And we know that. But this is not the time to get greedy. This is not the time to delay to rebuild, to abandon our entire ideology and philosophy since Ryan Poles has become the general manager and go all in on 1 year when all these different things could happen. You could get to the playoffs and your kicker could double doink a field goal, and you gave up 2 first-round picks, and it doesn't mean anything because your kicker missed a 43-yard field goal to end the season, right? That's literally what happened in 2018, and you run that risk. And, of course, you're not mortgaging the future for what would be probably, in my eyes, like a 2 and a 5 for Hassan Reddick, but that's the philosophy, that's the ideology, and I think at this point in time, like, if they were to address that position, it could be via trade, but it's not for 29-year-old Hassan Reddick. It's for a younger guy who just doesn't fit in with their team and they're willing to get rid of him, or you just sign a cheap veteran like Yannick Ngakoue again for $2 million or the veteran minimum or something. It literally costs you barely anything against the cap. You have all the space in the world, and maybe you get a boost out of it, maybe you don't, but it's not your solution, right? So that's the way I see it.
No, and I love that. And you hit it right on the head. And I think that's the conversation is you talked about that window and talked about how, it's going to be very hard to convince Ryan Poles, who really just, bursted the window open this year. It's as wide as it's ever been. It's not closing whatsoever. So if this is 2027 and we still haven't made it to a Super Bowl, okay, maybe we can have that conversation. But at this point in time, it's just not necessary, especially with the hype that this team has, especially with what they were able to do already being the number 1 run stopping defense in the NFL last year without somebody like Hassan Reddick, without somebody else. But I think when you look at it from that perspective, before we move on to the Tory Taylor, we got a special for you. I'm not even going to spoil it.
Oh God!
But do you look at it differently, Kevin? Let's play devil's advocate right here. You draft Patrick Mahomes in 2017, and then you have that conversation of how do you look at the Khalil Mack trade when the Chicago Bears have Patrick Mahomes and they probably end up winning a Super Bowl? Do you look at it differently?
Yeah, you definitely look at it differently. Right. But that's all ties into the point. It's like the Bears from a roster standpoint weren't ready to give up 3 first-round picks, I don't think. But if you have Patrick Mahomes, you're ready for anything. You can do whatever you want.
So in that same breath, if Caleb Williams, say we got it right this time, if he ends up being that guy, maybe a first-round pick for Hassan Reddick in hindsight leads to 2 Super Bowls, maybe. And these are all playing devil's advocate. We're just shooting the shit. No one take any stock into what Kevin's saying or what I'm saying right now, or mainly me, as it pertains to what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Because obviously, I'm sitting here right now, and Ryan Poles is probably somewhere, just cooking up some masterful trade right now. But without a doubt. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting nonetheless. Hopefully we'll have Kevin on again if we do get any answers at that pass rush position before the season ends. But I want to talk about the most important position, the most important player on the Chicago Bears organization, the Aussie man himself, Tory fucking Taylor. 4th round pick, one of the first punters, one of the first special teamers I've seen go that early in a draft. How did you feel about it then versus how do you feel about it now? I watched a lot of him in Iowa. This guy was easily, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of the greats that have come before or to now who have come out of Iowa. We got George Kittle, we got David Montgomery, just across the pond, we got Brock Purdy. But
David Montgomery went to Iowa State.
That's what I said, just across the pond,
okay, sorry.
But,
I got you.
I know my Midwest.
I know
I was kidding. I just don't know U of I because no one gives a fuck. But Tory Taylor on the Chicago Bears. We got a little glimpse of that against the Bills. I saw him in person with James when we were at training camp. The kid's got a boot. How do you feel about him and the impact he's going to have, especially with these new rules?
Yeah, it won't really have much of an impact from a kickoff standpoint, obviously, because he's not in kickoffs, right? Like it's still Cairo. But I at the time, Mike, I was skeptical of it. I really was, because you looked at the team at that time and you're like, okay, this was at the moment. Let's say the moment that they drafted him in the 3rd round, or what was the 4th round? Sorry, it was the 4th round.
I think. Yeah, because Booker was fit. Yeah, that's why I was like, "Where's the pass?"
Exactly. And that was my thought. I was like, the moment that happened, I was like, you aren't in a position where you can afford to take a punter in the 4th round. You just aren't. And they drafted Austin Booker, and I started to feel a little better about it. And then I watch Tory Taylor, and I just think about the defense, and I'm like, all right, like let's really break this down here. If this dude is as good as we think he is, if he's the greatest punter of all time, which is in play, like I honestly do believe that that's in play, and that's I know that's crazy to say, but like, what's the bar anyway? Pat McAfee, Sebastian Janikowski, like I don't know, right? Like, what's the bar for great punter? If he's the greatest punter ever, and it's consistently down inside the 10, it's consistently down inside the 5. So you have that. Every team is starting inside their 10-yard line when the Bears punted away, and you pair that with a defense that is phenomenal at stopping the run, was phenomenal at stopping it last year. So when they get inside of the 10, what most teams try to do to get out of their own end zone is to run the football. Okay, so now they're inside of the 10. You have a defense that is proven to be phenomenal at stopping the run. And then if you say, hey, we're inside the 10, let's drop our best pass play. Guess what? We got to throw against Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, and then Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards up the middle. Dude, like that is the combination that every fan wants from special teams to defense. And I think the Bears saw that, and they thought, look, we have the real potential, and now it correlates to offense, to get every team pinned inside at least their 20, at least their 10. Shut them out, right? At least hold them to a field goal, right? Because even if you're going to go 70 yards, a great job for you. You know, if you start at the 10, you're only at your 20, and that ain't a touchdown. It's going to be a field goal, right? And then you turn the ball over to an offense that's going to be able to score now. That's how you win football games. That's the game within the game. And I think, I'll be honest, I was naive. I was ignorant at the time they drafted him, because who knows anything about a punter? Who knows anything? And of course, at Iowa, he's the team's MVP because their offense is so bad. I should have known more about him. But who knows I didn't know enough about him to know that he was capable of downing inside the 10 every time. I didn't know that he could be on track to be the best punter ever. If I had known those things the moment he was drafted, I probably would have been more happy about it. But now that I see the clips and we see a little bit of what he's able to do in preseason, like, it makes sense, the vision, at least the vision of how they're going to incorporate special teams into the way that they want to stop what teams want to do on offense.
Yeah, for sure. And also part of me, guys, I don't know if that was on me or that was the stream in general. I lost Kev for a second, and I didn't know if I was bugging or if that was the internet, but I do know the storm is coming. But I think the storm of Tory Taylor is even more incredible. I'm hot. I'm ready for it, bro. Like I don't take pride in this, but I watch many Iowa football games. I never finish them. I never get past halftime because it's that fucking horrible and horrendous. But I've watched a lot of Tory Taylor, thankful to that, because he's punted at least 4 or 5 times in the first half of every Iowa game. So, you know, I got a chance to see what he was able to do. The Aussie man himself, he's straight out of Australia. They got giant fucking spiders, giant animals, crocodiles, kangaroos, all types of crazy shit. So this guy's a warrior. This guy understands what it takes to play ball. And he understands what it means to be a monster of the midway. So I'm excited for him to take the ball in his hands and just do what he does. So I think it's going to be cool, man. You know, obviously, like I said, you know, I was right there with you. Like when I heard punter, it was the craziest thing ever because we still didn't have that pass rusher, bro. I was like, but if you understood, like if you were that big on Austin Booker and knew he would be at 5, but that for whatever reason, I truly believe Ryan Poles got whiff that somebody was taking Tory Taylor. And I think that was kind of like, okay, I got to take him now where he's not going to be there in the 5th. And I think that was the problem. So whoever that was, and it could have been anybody, but, you know, it's definitely interesting to have those kind of conversations to why did you think Booker would be here? Maybe because he didn't start the majority of his collegiate career. Maybe it's because you think Tory's just that good. I would be in that voice without any intel to think that I think Tory would have been there in the 5th. But that's just me. Who knows? Maybe not. But, you know, man, forget the rookies, man. Let's talk about dogs. Talk about straight dogs. We're getting into our transition. You saw it on Hard Knocks, but you and I have been watching it on X, on Instagram, on Bears Twitter, wherever you get your Bears notications. You've seen it all year long. Keenan Allen one-on-ones with Jalen Lockdown Money Man Johnson. I mean, it's been incredible to watch these two go back and forth. These are two potential Hall of Famers, and Keenan Allen even is vocal about it and says, I've never gotten a catch in game against Jalen Johnson. Now they haven't had a lot of spurts where they're playing against each other, but even in practice, you see Jalen Johnson just dog walking the entire offense. But when you have such an amazing route runner, who I believe is top 5 route runner in this league, in Keenan Allen, he's one of the best big men as well. When you have someone like that going up against a lockdown corner in JJ, how does that get you? How does it get you feeling about what this season has in store? Because you understand that these two are going head to head every single practice, every single day. What they're going to be able to bring on the field is going to be 10 times better.
I mean, it's so damn cool to see something like this and getting that. That's been the best part of Hard Knocks for me, at least that last episode, was like anytime you have two players at the top of their game going against each other, like that's exactly what you want. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, cliche, but those things are real, right? Those things are very real. And I think what it's showing to me is like, dude, Jalen Johnson is taking his game to the next level right now. Like this is a player who was second team All-Pro last year. He was a Pro Bowler, right? And I think he has the potential, Mike. I legitimately believe this. I do believe he has the potential to be the best cornerback in the NFL at the end of next year. And he's proving that.
Not top 100 though, right?
Not top 100 though, right? He'll be the best quarterback in the NFL, but he won't be voted top 100 in the league by his peers. But Aaron Rodgers, who played about 2.5 minutes of the NFL season last year, he could be 75 seconds. Yeah.
Not even two.
Yeah, not even two. He can be on the list, but Mr. Lockdown, Jalen Johnson can't.
You heard what Jalen said, right? You got that text.
I saw that. Yeah, and I respect him the hell out of for saying that. He said, look, yeah.
Turn me up,
and look, and Mike, you know it. I know it. As competitors, as athletes, like there's nothing that lights a fire under your ass like disrespect, and that's like the ultimate disrespect because. Who cares what you or I say if we came out with a top 100 list? Who cares what CBS or ESPN says if they came out with a top 100 list? This was voted on by his peers. His peers are directly telling him, dude, we don't respect you. We don't think of you as a top 100 player in the NFL. Despite him locking down damn near any receiver that comes his way. So you know what he's going to freaking do now? With any time any of those guys comes onto the field to face him one-on-one, he's going to say, listen, bro, you don't respect me? You better fucking respect me after this. And then he's going to lock him down, get a pick, get a PBU, right? Like we know he's a dog like that. We know that's what Jalen Johnson does. But yes, to see two guys as elite as they are at specific things, like Jalen Johnson and Keenan Allen go at each other, I think it's just a little bit of like a microcosm of where we are with this team. I mean, when's the last time you could remember like a battle like that on offense versus a defense with players this good? Like it's cool to see, and teams don't get like that opportunity too often. Like the Jets, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner going at it last year. That was the huge topic of Hard Knocks training camp a year ago, and that was one of my favorite storylines. Like anytime you can watch two players be great and make each other greater at the same time because of how good they are and how much they'll learn from each other and their greatness is just phenomenal. And those are the things that are inspiring to the guys in the second unit. Those are things that are inspiring to the guys on the other side of the ball. It trickles down the entire roster. If you can have an entire team watch two guys as great as they are, go at it, battle, compete, and learn from each other at the end of the day, those are things that make a difference on young players. Those are things that make a difference on guys down the roster. So I think that's been a huge, great development, those two guys going at it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really incredible. I think it kind of reminds me of in our next transition, you talked about it a little bit. Like, when's the last time we saw something like this? When's the last time we really had two X factors on both sides of the ball? That brings us to our next conversation. Who's going to be the better duo when it's all said and done? Now, obviously, playoffs, Super Bowls all play a factor into this. We already know what the past was able to accomplish or what the lack of what they were able to accomplish, but we don't know what the future holds for DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. What would you say right now, Kevin LAPKA, on August 14th, 2024, who's going to be the better Bears wide receiver duo, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore or Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think it's Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. I think it's actually pretty easy for me. I know it's crazy to say, right? I know it's crazy to say because we love those dudes, Mike. We loved those dudes. Those dudes are awesome.
We love one. I don't like Alshon left a taste in my mouth after he said "fuck Chicago." I was like, all right, like whatever. But I get you.
Right. So you have to look at it this way. the ceiling for both players and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen is higher than the ceiling was for Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, Keenan Allen's a Hall of Famer. Like you said that. Brandon Marshall is not going to get into the Hall of Fame. I don't believe, right? Like that would
not even be close to first ballot though.
Yeah, well, I think he's already missed that opportunity to be first ballot. I think. I mean, I forget when he retired, but it was a long time ago. So he might have already had that opportunity to be first ballot and didn't get. I don't know, whatever. But Alshon Jeffrey, obviously, no, not a Hall of Famer, dude. And that's the thing. Like, this is an interesting conversation. Someone brought it up to me today at the Score. Like, if DJ Moore continues to play like this, as consistent as he's been, like, is he a Hall of Famer, right? And you look at sort of the same production as Keenan Allen, like, DJ Moore might never have, like, an unreal 1,800-yard, 12-touchdown season, right? That's probably not in the cards for a player like him. But if he's consistently – he's never had a season under 1,000 yards. If he's consistently in that 1,100, 1,300 range, 8 touchdowns per year, his production at the end of a 13-year career is going to rival that of guys who are in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, sure. So if you look at it that way and you look at what these two guys bring to the table, by far, like their best – what was Marshall and Jeffrey's best season combined? Like 2,700 yards maybe? Like I'd have to go back and look. Yeah. And they were a dominant force. But I got to believe DJ Moore and Keenan Allen is more fearsome for NFL defenses.
Right. I think, and to that point too, you know, we look at a guy like DJ, and these aren't comps based off of their game or their wheelhouse or their route tree or anything, but just based off of the type of player they are. You know, he reminds me so much of a Keenan Allen, so much of a Mike Evans, to where it's like maybe you and aside from the Tom Brady era in Tampa, like Mike Evans did not play meaningful football, but every single year the man's racking up 1,000 yards no matter who his quarterback is. I mean, the man brought Baker Mayfield back from the dust. So, and then Keenan Allen, you know, obviously doing so much with Phillip Rivers, obviously playing with Justin Herbert, you know, never really had a Super Bowl shot, but definitely is viewed as one of the better wide receivers to come into the 21st century. So I love what we're seeing from that. Again, it's a fun question if you grew up watching Brandon and Alshon, because you understand like the aura at that Alshon Jeffrey Dallas game, you know, the 49ers game for Brandon.
Yes.
Like, I mean, these are things you and I like. We're biased because this is our prime. Like this was our peak childhood of us fanboying out about professional athletes who are older than us. And we're looking at these guys now. We're similar in age, not to Keenan, but more DJ. But Keenan's old as fuck. It's definitely for me going to be Keenan and DJ. And I think it already was before the season even started. As long as Keenan Allen can stay healthy, I think that's really the only conversation. But health bearing, I think, you know, Keenan and DJ obviously have that higher ceiling. Hopefully you're not in a situation where Josh McCown's your quarterback because Jay Cutler goes down in the same situation. Hopefully Tyson Bagent doesn't throw a single football this year for the Chicago Bears in a meaningful game. Hopefully it's Caleb the whole way through, you know, bearing injury, bearing anything. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. I thought it'd be a little interesting conversation because, you know, I think when you look at the two and what they were able to do at their highest peak, I think what they were able to do together was incredible. And the fact that we're having this conversation again, but not only having it again, that we have two wide receivers, we have fucking three. I think it's incredible, man. I mean, could you name who was wide receiver 3 of the Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey era? Would you Cameron Meredith? Was it maybe?
Meredith was probably a couple years later.
Yeah, because he was originally, I forgot.
Earl Bennett, maybe.
Yeah, like D. Hess towards the very back then, like for like a year. Bit. Like not even. You didn't have. It was too late for Johnny Knox. I mean, Eddie Royal, was it Eddie Royal? Maybe, but like I don't exactly. That's the point, though. Is like, you know, we're in such a great position right now. To the two guys we just mentioned, the better one could end up being Rome Odunze. We have no idea. So I think it's cool. I think it's going to be really incredible to kind of get back to that, have those monsters. I remember how hype I was to get a Brandon Marshall jersey on Christmas. Like that was crazy to me because I didn't like the number 99. I didn't like the number 54. You're a kid. You want to wear 15. You want to wear 1. You want to wear 3. Like these are dope numbers. But last conversation for tonight that I wanted to hit you with, because this is one I feel like we're not talking about enough. I know you're yawning. You're a little sleepy.
And no.
Get a little mimes. Kevin's tired. No, I'm kidding. But man, you know, we look at the Bears running back room right now. There is a couple, you know, undrafted guys that, you know, we saw early on. But the main one is going to be Ian Wheeler. And I think looking at him and what he's been able to bring. I loved in Hard Knocks, like that conversation with the running backs coach, the kind of love-hate relationship that he has with him, the passion, the drive. Great coaching, by the way. I know when Wheeler was coming up the seam and he was going for that tutty in practice, you have coach right behind you meeting you in the end zone. Like, that's the shit I want to see. That's a Flus guy. I think you would agree. Like, that's a guy Matt Eberflus hires for that specific reason.
Absolutely.
He wants the vibes. He wants the energy to be immaculate. So I'm here for it. But right now in camp, you can correct me if I'm wrong. These are the backs that we're running with. Swift, Johnson, Herbert, Valus, and Wheeler. I think that's all. I don't think there's another one.
Roshan Johnson.
Did
you say Roshan?
Yeah,
did you? Sorry.
Okay. I believe I did. But so Roshan Johnson, DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, who we haven't heard a word from in the first 2 episodes out of Khalil Herbert. So, and it doesn't mean anything. I haven't heard a lot from Roshan either. But there's been a lot of rumors about trade talks or potentially him just not making the roster. Bayless Jones, obviously, had a legacy game on Saturday.
Legacy game.
I mean, just getting a touchdown for Bayless. That's a legacy game. But a former 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee, GBO. And then Wheeler goes undrafted. So for you, man, who do you think is the squad you're rocking out with come opening day? Who do you think gets the boot and why?
I mean, DeAndre Swift's clear number 1, right? And then I think Valus Jones Jr. gets cut. I think Travis Homer gets cut. And I do think they keep Ian Wheeler around because you're at one of those positions where it's an undrafted rookie. You owe him nothing. And why not, right? Why not see what he's capable of? I know Travis Homer is a great special teams guy that they want to keep around, but why not keep Ian Wheeler, see what he can do if a guy goes down, see what he can do on special teams, right? Like, why not? There's no role for Valus Jones Jr. on this team. I hate to say it. It's sad to see him go likely. But, with DeAndre Carter being brought in most likely as a special teams guy, like, maybe they see the value in Valus Jones Jr. in the new kickoff format, but, like, I don't know if it's enough to keep him on the roster if that's his only role, right? And I think that's why they're trying their best to see, okay, can he bring value to the team in another way as a running back? Can they bring him can he get sufficient snaps from running back to make it justifiable for him to get one of those 53-man spots? Because otherwise, if you're just the kick returner, you're not bringing enough value to the team to earn, a roster spot, right? So, but here's the thing, Mike. Like, I do think this particular position group is like very fascinating to me. It's very fascinating to me because for some reason, like, I feel the DeAndre Swift signing this offseason got like a lot of backlash, like a lot of hate. Like, people were like, I didn't like it. Like, you were one of them, I know, and I get it. But like, let's kind of like break this down for a second. Let's take a look at this. Like, DeAndre Swift was a 1,000-yard rusher last year.
Right.
He rushed for 4.6 yards per carry. That's not a terrible clip. All right. He had 5 touchdowns on the ground. He had only 1 receiving, but this is a player who's capable, who's done it before, specifically in the receiving game. And I don't know if he's ready to be, I don't know if he is a bell cow, true 3-down running back. He's probably not, but they have the depth at running back where DeAndre Swift is going to be a very important factor of this team, whether it's in the receiving game, like we saw with a 42-yard reception off that, screen. It was not intended to be a screen. It ended up being a screen, though, essentially. 42-yard reception, screen with that no-look pass from Caleb. He had a couple nice burst plays. He's very young. He's only 24 years old, right? Like, this is a very good running back room. But I don't want them to get into this ideology of, like, we have to make this a committee. We have to give everyone the snaps, because you see teams do that, and it's a really dangerous position. Take a look at the Atlanta Falcons from a year ago, right? Take a look at the Steelers from last year a little bit. They feel obligated to give Tyler Algier carries. They feel obligated to give Najee Harris carries, right? And I get it. You want to take a little bit of the load off of a younger running back who is going to be a bell cow. And in this league, we know that once you get to age 27, you drop off, and you don't want to put too much tread on the tires until that age. Right. But DeAndre Swift is the better player. I think Roshan Johnson is the better player than the Khalil Herbert. Has more potential, more explosiveness, a little bit more upside. Yeah. Yes, and consistency too. So I don't want this to be like, all right, DeAndre, you get first down. We're going to bring in Khalil for that second down, and then Roshan, you're going to just run it up the gut that third down. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, and I fear that that's like – and it's not a bad problem to have. Like, it's really not. But, like, DeAndre Swift is the best running back on the team. He should be getting the ball more than the other guys. And Roshan Johnson will get a shot. Khalil Herbert will get a couple carries here and there, but Ian Wheeler 100% should be that fourth running back on the roster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's really where I'm at with it. I understand you're trying to do anything right now to show that you took him in the third round for a reason, and you don't want to give up on that just a year removed from drafting him. And I think that's really the biggest conversation you're having right now if you're Ryan Poles. So, and I think Ryan internally understands that. Like, listen, you're not Devin Hester, and you're never going to be. Like, for whatever reason, the NFL on Instagram and social media has decided to take Velus Jones Jr.'s quote about how he could potentially change the game with this new kicking rule. Like, for whatever reason, that was a thing. I don't know if they were just trying to do Velus a favor, if he's cool with the social media teams. That was not necessary. He has never shown prior to this rule change that he was a threat in the special teams. The man was muffing punts left and right. The man could not be a part of the special teams unit in 2023. He was horrendous. They're even having conversations. Maybe Rome is going to be a part of that. That's not happening. That should never even have been a conversation. But for me, it's going to come down to the roles being reversed. And I think I love the Thunder and Lightning tandem of Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. But
you love that, bro.
I'm still with it. To this day, I wonder where Jordan Howard is. If Jordan Howard ever wants to come on the pod, oh my God, I'd lose my shit. But he was the wrecking ball. And then here comes this little lightning bottle and Tariq Cohen, who, shout out to him, just retired from the NFL. It was one of those things where it was like Thunder, then Lightning. Now it's the Lightning comes first, then the Thunder. And I think that's really what it is. DeAndre Swift's going to be the faster guy going to the outside. My only problem with Swift, and I've talked to you about this before, and this was prior to the Bears even signing him, I don't think he reads the right holes right away. I think he's very quick to try to get out of bounds. Obviously, injury preventing that. You understand that he's gone through a lot, especially in Detroit. That was the big one for me, because I'll play devil's advocate on both sides. To your credit, when you have Jalen Hurts, doing the fucking tush push 90% of the time, like, it's really hard to get a rushing touchdown if you're DeAndre Swift, you're playing for the Eagles. But in that other side of it, what he was able to accomplish, or the lack thereof, in Detroit, I think I would say this offensive line is similar to that of what we saw from DeAndre Swift on the Detroit Lions. I still don't think it's that great. Obviously, you and I have had off-air conversations about the left-hand side of this offensive line versus the right-hand side. It's going to be interesting to see the health of this team and what we're really going to be able to work with throughout the season. That's why we've seen Sheldon and Bates and so many others switching to that center's position. But really, to me, I think that left guard position is the biggest question out of anything. That's neither here nor there. But I think, I think for me, man, I don't know if I trust DeAndre Swift to be DeAndre Swift with this current offensive line. I don't know if it's going to translate the same, because you don't have a Jason Kelce under center. You don't have, premier tackles on both ends. You don't have a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's a proven guy who's going to be able to check down and be able to see things before you do. Hopefully Caleb can be that right away, but I don't expect that of Caleb, and it's unfair of me to expect that of Caleb right away. So I think that's really the big question. Obviously, Swifty number one. Obviously, Roshan, he earned it. That's my little Jordan Howard over there. He's cracking motherfuckers left and right against Green Bay last year. Khalil Herbert that's going to be the question. To me, that's the question. And I don't want that to be like, I'm not trying to just, come with the same regular take every kid on Twitter has, but it's like, Ryan Poles doesn't owe him anything. He didn't draft this kid. He inherited him. And when you have Velus with that third round pick attached to it, I think you're like, if you're Ryan Poles, you're rocking with Wheeler, like you said.
Yes.
Why are you? But I think it's Khalil, who has had several injuries over the last few years, hasn't been able to finish a full season, versus Velus. And to me,
you think so? You're crazy.
I think that's the understanding. If I was in that room right now, I'm looking at it as it's Khalil versus Velus. And I think Khalil clears.
Wow.
No, I think Khalil clears no issue. But I think I would look to Khalil, who's on a contract year, who has already shown me he's not that guy throughout a full 17-game season, soon to be 18-game season. Him and David Montgomery were going back and forth to see who was going to the IR next. So like, it's really just, it's one of those things to me, man, where it's like, we might have to cut ties with you. So it's really going to be depending on, can Velus show you that he can do anything well? Not good, not great. Can you do anything for this team? And if the answer is no, if you can't do more than one thing for us, I'm rocking with Khalil Herbert. So I think I'm right with you with the same list. Did you have any backtrack on that? Do you have anything to say about Khalil versus Bayless?
I think you're crazy, bro. I think
crazy?
you're crazy. This is a player in Khalil Herbert who got 9 carries against the Buffalo Bills on as like RB1.
I love Khalil.
Well, apparently you don't. I mean, you think he could be gone. You think he's on the block, bro. You think he's on the chopping block. You think you got Velus Jones Jr. taking his damn spot. A dude who just started playing. This is a dude who just started playing football or playing running back 2 weeks ago, and you already think he's contesting a player like Khalil Herbert for his job. That's crazy.
No, I'm just saying, if Velus is trying to take anybody's job on this roster, I think it's going to be Khalil due to the contract and due to him being an expiring deal. Roshan is a very similar player. Wheeler's a little faster. I think he's a little leaner. So they do a little bit different things. Man, Germ's going to clip this, bro, and I'm going to be the biggest Khalil Herbert hater on X tomorrow, and it's Kevin's fault. I wasn't even – man, Juice, we love you, baby. We love you. I hope – I don't know.
You said it, not me.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm doubling down. He took Jordan Howard's number, and I said, fuck him from day one.
My God, you're ridiculous. Dude, the standing for Jordan Howard, I'll never get it. He had like one game. He's a great dude, though. I love Jordan Howard. He's a great dude. Look, last thing on this. I think it's interesting. Let's just talk about this real quick because Mark, I'm sure, is listening or watching or whatever because he's in my fantasy football league. Like, where do you evaluate DeAndre Swift in the fantasy football market? How do you evaluate him in the betting market? We talked about this a lot in my betting shows that I do on the weekend. Like, we don't know what and like you're wrong. Khalil Herbert's going to make the roster. All right, Velus Jr.
I'm not wrong.
Clip it. No, Khalil Herbert will make the roster, and it's like again, what does that carry percentage look like, right? And I don't know. And it's a risky pick in fantasy.
Here's what I've told myself. I want to answer both questions because I love it. I think this is dope. I think from a betting perspective, I'm only messing with DeAndre Swift from a receiving perspective this year. I think I would take the over on whatever they have every single game, just based off of little gadget plays like we saw in game 1 against Buffalo. I think a lot of things like that are going to happen. Caleb Williams is going to make plays. This is a speedy running back who's really able to catch the ball well. He's really able to, kind of just move guys around, shake a few guys left and right. So I'm going receiving. I don't want to mess with the running game until we see it. And I'm talking like 6 games into the year because there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about, one, how the O-line is going to look and what they want to do with the receiver core and Cole Kmet that they have right now. From a fantasy perspective, which, by the way, shout out to my guy Dan because he insisted that we drafted Sunday night. And now whoever, poor soul who took JJ McCarthy as his quarterback 1 got fucked on August 14th. It's crazy that we even drafted. So, I mean, I got Justin Jefferson, and so I got fucked too. But,
dude, you're better off.
Sam
Darnold versus JJ McCarthy. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm a Michigan hater, so I don't know. But yeah. So as it pertains to fantasy for DeAndre Swift, I avoided it. Anything from 4th round on, I would entertain it. But he's not a top 3 round pick for me, in my opinion. Just because I don't. Like you said, bro, you have a Hall of Famer, a potential second Hall of Famer in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. You have Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, and then Caleb Williams is going to scramble for some plays too. So, and you have obviously Khalil, Germ, clip it. Khalil Herbert will be on the roster in 2024. 24 is on 24. Roshan Johnson. And, you got a lot going on over there. Maybe Velus Jones. Who knows? Probably not, but definitely not. But, I don't know what it's going to look like, bro. What round would you take? What round would you take DeAndre Swift today? If he's on the board?
I mean, how many? 10-man league, 12-man league, 8-man league?
We'll do 10-man. We'll do 10-man.
It's 8?
Take him 8th round? 7th,
I don't know. I guess my round my rounds are misconception because I've been doing a ton of practice rounds in an 8-man league because that's what I'm in, like my primary league. Yeah. Probably he went 6 or 7.
He went 3rd in my league. In this
third? Oh God, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. He went 3rd. I won't lie. Now, the running backs did fly very quickly. I believe we had like 7 running backs in the top 10, which was like crazy to me. But I was like, I had the 8th pick. So I was like, Justin Jefferson's here. I was, okay. And then it snaked. So I had the 3rd pick in the second round. I'm like, Travis Kelce, thanks. Like, I'll get my running. I think my running backs right now. before we get out of here, because you brought in my addiction. We'll look at it. We'll take a little look at the team. I don't think I sent it to you. First of all, you're gonna love it. Team name. I picked up our boy Hawkinson with my last pick just to make the name Hawk Tua. I think it was great. I have Tua.
You suck. Oh my god.
It's pretty incredible. I think Mark would laugh. But
oh no, you're gonna get. I saw something on Twitter. I was like, if your fantasy name this year is Hawk Tua, you deserve to go 0-17.
It's goated, brother. And no, but the squad right now, after having the 8th pick, Jordan Love is QB1 and Tua Tagovailoa. I'm kind of mixing that. Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Travis Kelce, Keenan Allen. Bears defense. Then we got Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Tua, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Herbert. And TJ Hawkinson is in IR. I just picked up Justin Fields because Shefty made me think that Ayuk was going yesterday, but I'm still waiting. So I think the squad's nice. I think it's a nice little squad. It's not too bad. I think we got a lot of promise. I think Jalen Waddle is someone I'm trying to trade away right now. I'm trying to get me some Garrett Wilson. I'm trying to play it cool.
Trading Jalen Waddle for Garrett Wilson. Yeah, right. In what universe is that going to work?
I don't know, but we're going to try to figure it out. But Kev, baby, you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I mean, dude, like in general, football's back. Bears might be back. Like I truly do think like this is. I've been optimistic about the Bears for a long time, right? That's just it's just the way I've been.
Even when you shouldn't have been.
Even when I shouldn't have been. I've always seen the best in this team. I've seen them for what they could be, not what they are. And I'm doing the same thing now to an extent. I'm seeing for what they could be and what they are. But like, I'll just like leave it with this because I don't know when we'll last do an episode. Probably not till the season starts. So I kind of want to just talk about what they can become this year and like their win total and whatever, which is like 8.5. I don't see a universe like I see a universe, but it's very, very unlikely in my eyes that they win less than 9 games. Like I just can't I can't foresee it right now. And it's sure like obviously Hard Knocks makes everything look good. Obviously, it's the preseason. It doesn't matter. And you beat the Bills 33-6. It doesn't matter, right? But when you look at this team, what they have, and of course, a lot of it falls on Caleb. But if the returns have been good on him, like the defense alone is going to win them games. It did last year, and it will this year, especially against teams like the Vikings with bad quarterbacks. It won them games against the Detroit Lions, one of the best offenses in the NFL. It will win them games this year. 100%, the defense will alone win them games this year. And you pair that with a potential top 12 quarterback in the NFL this year, if he's that good. You pair that with the best receiving core in the NFL. You pair that with a running back room that's pretty damn good from front to back, like we just described, with DeAndre Swift leading the charge. Like, sure, the coach, like Matt Eberflus, isn't anywhere near a top 10 coach in the NFL, but if your team is that good and the defense is that good and the coordinators are that good, which can take some of the, that can alleviate some of the pressure and some of the burden on a head coach, this is a team that wins 11 games. I don't think they're going to win the division because I just think the Lions are really freaking good this year and the schedule shakes out really nicely for them. But like, the more I watch it, the more I read about it, the more I see, the more I think, the more I believe that this has to be a playoff team in 2024. And if they're not, it's an incredible disappointment in my eyes. So that's where I stand here, August 14th. Mike, it's almost here. The season's almost here. This offseason of hell, the Civil War, it's almost over. We can get into real football and dissect these things that are actually happening on the field. I can't wait. I appreciate you, as always, my guy, inviting me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You're the goods. 100K on the way. Can't wait for you, buddy. But yeah,
relax.
Bear down, baby.
No,
Bear
but
down.
I'm with you, bro. And before we get you out of here, that right there was the last part. I thought it was really key. I've heard it from several people already, whether that's in interviews or whether on Hard Knocks. Jalen Johnson was the most recent to say it on Hard Knocks. We should have won more games last year. They keep reiterating that and they keep understanding that. I mean, it was the most blown leads in the fourth quarter in NFL history by Matt Eberflus. And a lot of that was, Tyson Bagent, a lot of that was Luke Getsy, a lot of that was Justin Fields and Flus, even to some, Flus made some questionable calls at certain points during games, especially in that Broncos game. But I think the fact that we haven't had any coaches fired due to HR reasons yet, the fact that we have Shane Waldron, the fact that we have Caleb Williams, a whole new, this wide receiver core this year, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. What was it at the beginning of last year? It was DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool. Like, and Chase Claypool was out for the season. Shout out to him. That's what happens when you're in Paris in dresses and not playing football. But nonetheless, I think, this team, like you said, top to bottom, I mean, they're better. And this is a team that, like everybody on this team is saying, should have won 10 games last year if they didn't blow those fourth quarter leads. This was already a 7-win team. Kev, not to be, and listen, here's the difference between me and Kev. Kev's going to be optimistic but realistic. I am straight optimism. I'm going to be the complete opposite. Like, you won 7 games with Luke Getsy, Tyson Bagent, and Justin Fields, and nobody towards the end of the year other than DJ Moore on offense. So when you look at that and you say, I have completely revamped this team, we won 7 games last year, I'm expecting nothing less than 10 to 12. And I think that's the minimum. And I understand the Lions will probably be in that 13 to 15 range at peak. You know what I mean? But I think we're right there, especially with JJ and Jordan Addison and all these other guys going down. I mean, that's too respectfully to Jettas, because Jettas can dog walk for 200 yards a game at any point. It feels like, that should be 2 wins right there. And if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And that's always going to be Green Bay until we prove otherwise. So, it should be in that mindset, saying we're going into Green Bay and we're coming into Chicago and we're getting those wins. So you should be able to take it. I think we split with the Lions. Kev, we appreciate you being here, baby. Really quickly, I know you don't want to because he's as humble as ever. But can you please talk to me a little bit about Base Camp? Just real quickly. I want to hear what you got going on.
Hey, man, Base Camp's a great place, man, here in the state of Chicago in the West Loop area. Just doing some fitness training, man, helping people reach their goals, bro. That's really what it's all about, man. That's what got me into it. I love playing sports and whatnot. I was never really that into fitness. You know what I mean? I was just super into playing sports, but to see people really put in an effort to achieve their goals and make a change in their life, and knowing what a healthy lifestyle, a healthy fitness lifestyle can do for people and helping them reach that goal, man, it's super inspiring stuff. So that's kind of what drove me to that and keeps me going through it. So yeah, man, if you're in the Chicagoland area, come check us out. Base Camp in the West Loop. Our classes are great. They're fun. We keep that energy high. And yeah, man, just like everything, what you're doing, what we're all doing, right? It's all about inspiring people and making a difference any way you can. And that's what's driving this. This is driving me in the foundation. It's just how can you make a difference? How can you help people? How can you just take one person at a time and help them fulfill everything they can out of this short life. So yeah, man, I appreciate you giving me that time to speak about it. I'm wearing the shirt right now. It's a nice little shirt.
Check it out. So, social medias, Base Camp. You can find it. Kevin LAPKA doing his thing.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you being here, baby. Appreciate you guys who tuned in tonight, whether that was on TikTok before both of our phones died, or you're watching this on Give Us a Shot Network. Make sure you check us out tomorrow morning. We'll be interviewing some minor league baseball players on episode 1, season 3 of Pros and Joes, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. Give us a like, give us a follow, hit the link in the bio below. If I put it, if I didn't, Give Us a Shot Network on all social medias. Until then, we are in there like swimwear. Bear down, baby.